now for the main event. We are very fortunate to have Mike Stagg here today to talk to us about safety basics, the 101 of safety. Mike,
Yeah,
we're getting time of year, right?
yeah, it's a great time of year to talk about, safety basics. Just getting back to it with our, we all make New Year's resolutions, and maybe it's to go to the gym, or it's to eat better, or it's to be nicer, or whatever it is. Maybe you made a safety resolution, or maybe you made a New Year's resolution around safety. Um, Getting back to the basics here, well, though, what we're going to talk about is how we can make that New Year's resolution work for you. So it's not like the gym resolution that I made that I was going to go to the gym every morning that I've already broken, and it's second week of January. But we're going to hopefully get back to the basics here with safety and talk about just the 101 level of safety and how we get there. So first off, a question for you. What is the main cause of injury? Do you think it's unsafe acts, or do you think it's unsafe conditions? Now, a lot of folks may think, yeah, it's the unsafe conditions. The roads were wet, and that's why I skidded my car and crashed. Or the ladder was faulty, and that's why it fell and the ladder broke and I fell. Okay, maybe it was the condition. Or is it an unsafe act where we're doing something that we're not supposed to be doing? Well, the data actually shows that the vast majority, 96%, are because of the act, right? Because there was an unsafe act that happened, not because of the unsafe condition, not because the walkway was slippery, because we did something that we weren't probably supposed to be doing. All right. As we talk about accidents, those that are typically documented are those serious injuries or fatalities or things that, make us go to the doctor or lose time or something like that. Sometimes we might document a near miss, but a lot of times we're not documenting the unsafe behaviors or the hazards or all of our near misses. And so typically we're not looking at those. Sometimes we just gloss over them. And that's why we got to get back to the basics, because our accident is preventable. So just some statistics for you. Each year there's about 4,500 worker fatalities. That works out to be about 12 fatalities per day in our workplaces. 4.1 million serious injuries and about 60,000 occupational illnesses and deaths. Okay. As we look at this isn't trust data. That would be bad. But as we look at this, we can see how important it is, right? 4,500 worker fatalities per year, 12 per day. We don't want to be one of these statistics. That's why it's important that we go back to the basics, okay? And think about how we prevent accidents. I really think it's these three things here: accountability, transparency, and awareness. And we'll talk about each of these as we go through today, what each of these means in the basics of safety, okay? Because what is the impact of an accident? If you get hurt, or if a teammate gets hurt, your friend gets hurt, the person who's working right next to you, what is the impact of that accident? All right. They may have to lose work. They may have to be out of work. And when you lose work, you don't get paid as much as you do when you're at work, right? It's bad for your psychological well-being. It's bad to just have you sitting at home, not doing anything, recovering from injury. Okay. We want you at work. We want you here. You want to be there. You want to be there. You want to be working and doing what you came there to do. Okay. Have you ever had to work overtime because somebody's been out with an injury or an illness? Okay. That's hard, right? When you got to pick up the slack for somebody because they got hurt, because they didn't do something the right way. Okay. Will you ever be the same again if you're injured? If you like to enjoy the snow and go out snowboarding or skiing, and you were injured at work, you tore a knee apart or you ripped a shoulder apart because you were doing something you shouldn't have been doing, because there was an unsafe act or an unsafe condition that we could have avoided. Now, are you able to do those things anymore? Are you able to go out and enjoy a snow day? Are you able to get down on the floor and play with your kids or your grandkids? Okay. The most important question: are you going to go home tonight? Are you going to go home in the same condition you were than when you came to work? Okay. These are all the impacts of injury, right? Do you have to do you have to lose time? Do you have to lose a lifestyle that you've built and worked hard for because you made some silly mistake, because there was some silly injury? So how do we do that? And how do we prevent injuries? Okay. I think it's these things. We'll talk about these things today. Excuse me, is to know your job and make sure you get trained. Make sure you do your pre-task safety checks. Okay. Going through and making sure that everything is right and ready for you to go and get on the forklift or use that tool or piece of equipment. Okay. Do you have the proper tools and equipment? Okay. Thinking things like PPE, like your shoes and your safety glasses, your gloves, your retroreflective clothing, whatever it may be. Do you have that PPE and are you using it and are you wearing it? Okay. And then we're going to watch out for our coworkers. Okay. We're going to watch out for everybody because ultimately, who is responsible for your safety though? Let me give you a second to think about this as you think about who is responsible for your personal safety. Okay. And there's only one answer, right? You are. You are the only person that is responsible for your safety. So congratulations. You are now hereby appointed as the safety director of your world. Okay. You've got to be responsible for you, making sure that you take care and you do the basics and do them right every single time. But it goes farther than that, right? We are not only the safety directors of our world, but we prevent accidents as a team. When we can get together and we can make sure that our friends and our buddies and our coworkers, they stay safe because we're staying safe, that's how we prevent accidents and that's how we make real change. That's this accountability, right? We've got to be accountable to ourselves to make sure that we do things the right way, that we take it back to the basics and we remember what those basics are so that we can stay safe. There's got to be transparency. Okay. We've got to know what our jobs are, what our tasks are, and that we've been trained and those trainings and everything has been documented. And above all, we've got to be aware. You've got to be aware of yourself and your surroundings because remember, you're only responsible for your personal safety. But if you're also responsible for your buddy's safety, right? You're watching their back, they're watching your back. Everybody is now accountable to everybody else. It brings our awareness up and it brings our safety culture up and it helps us so that we can get back to these basics and make sure that everyone can go home safe the way that they came. Because what causes accidents? Okay, we talked a little bit about this. The accidents are caused by unsafe conditions and or unsafe acts. All right. Accidents can be prevented by eliminating these causes. So if we eliminate unsafe conditions, if we eliminate unsafe acts, then we can eliminate the accidents. But if those causes are not eliminated, then those accidents will continue to occur. Okay. If there is an accident and an unsafe condition wasn't remedied or an unsafe act wasn't taken care of, okay, then those accidents are going to keep happening on that piece of equipment or during that simple task. So we need to make sure that we eliminate these causes of accidents. All right. And how do we do that? I think the first thing we got to do is we got to pay attention to the little things. And what that means here is we've got to look out for Band-Aids. We got to look out for duct tape. Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by Band-Aids is, do you notice that there's a coworker who's walking around who's always got a Band-Aid on their hand? Got a Band-Aid on a finger, Band-Aid on a toe, whatever it may be. Okay. Look out for those Band-Aids and ask questions. Why? Hey, did you get hurt at home? How'd you get the injury? Talk to them. See what's going on. If they're getting hurt using a piece of equipment, that's where we can make an impact. Okay? That's basics. That's safety basics 101. Looking out for duct tape, looking out for those temporary fixes, those things that we did just because we needed to get it done and we needed to keep using that piece of equipment, or we didn't have time at that point to get this firmly taken care of. So we put a piece of duct tape on it. Okay. Look out for those things. Pay attention to those things. So how do we ensure we have got a safe workplace? All right. Our steps to safety include identifying our exposures. Then once we've identified what our exposures are, okay, we have to identify the controls that we're going to take to eliminate those exposures. Maybe those controls are training. Maybe those controls are wearing personal protective equipment. Okay. Maybe those controls are using a different piece of equipment or doing the task a different way because the exposure is still there. All right. We have to train. We've got to train on our pieces of equipment. We've got to train on how we do certain tasks and certain things. Okay. Basics, right? Train on those pieces of equipment. Continually train, retrain. If there's a new piece of equipment, if there's an attachment or something new that you've got, or if there's a different piece of equipment that you're now using, make sure you train on it. Make sure it's documented. Review your incidents. And when we talk about reviewing incidents, this isn't about determining if it was right or wrong, or if it was preventable or not preventable, or if this is just the cost of doing business, right? If there's an injury or an accident, what we're looking at with incidents is what's the root cause, right? Why did this actually happen? Okay. Jason likes to say something. Jason's got a really good Jasonism where he says, "Ask why until it hurts." Okay. You keep asking why. And eventually that why, that finger that keeps pointing at this person, they did it this wrong, they did it wrong because of this, that, or the other thing. It's going to eventually turn around to yourself. If you're a supervisor, it's because we didn't train well. We didn't do things well enough to help this person not get hurt. Maybe we're looking at ourselves and we got hurt. Oh, they didn't do this. I wasn't trained. I didn't get this done. It's somebody else's fault. Eventually, that finger is going to turn around and it's going to look right square in your face because we didn't do what we were supposed to do. Okay. This is that culture. This is that safety culture that we can build when we identify those exposures and controls, and then we take care of the accident, take care of the incidents. We do our incident reviews and we look at why did we actually get hurt or why did this actually happen? That builds the culture. That builds that safety culture that we're looking for, right? So when we get back to basics, we get back to these things. We get back to identifying our exposures and controls. We get back to training. We get back to reviewing what our incidents are, making sure that we stay safe. Now, when I talk about identifying exposures, first of the year, making resolutions, it's a great time to identify these exposures. We can take a walk. Take a walk around the office, take a walk around the shop, and ask yourself these what if questions. What if I tripped on this? What if this wasn't here? Okay. What if this person's walking across this trench and falls in the ground, falls in the hole? What do we do? Ask those what if, those tough questions. So maybe a task we can do today, tomorrow, this week is just have everyone on the team disperse throughout the shop, disperse in the office, walk around, take notes on what you see. Do an incident or an exposure assessment. Where could we be exposed to an injury or to a hazard? They get back together and say, okay, what did we identify? What are things we identified that are risky, that are things that we could take care of? What if questions did you ask? Okay. Maybe that's something we can do this week as we get back to the basics, to identifying what our exposures actually are. Maybe it's in an office setting, right? Looking at your body position, how you sit at your desk when you're working on a project. Okay. Maybe it's your chair that you have. Is it appropriate to your size? And is it sized to you? Is your monitor that you're looking at, is it straight in front of you? So you're not looking off to the side and straining your neck. Okay. Is there glare on the screen? So we don't have to adjust our position so we can see the screen the best that we need to. This is the basics, right? Talk about other basics. No running. Where we go, walk. Okay, walk where we go. Don't run. That means plan. You got to plan ahead. Leave yourself enough time so that you can walk and get to where you need to go safely. When we run is when we get hurt because we're not taking our time. Keep it tidy. Make sure you keep the workplaces tidy. Is there an electrical cord on the floor? Are there boxes? Are there used pieces of equipment? Are there rags? Whatever it is. Make sure we clean it up. Clean it up and keep it tidy. When we're lifting, lift as a team. Ask for help. Hey, ask for help lifting that box or that piece of equipment. Ask for help in putting something up on a shelf. Okay? This is the basics, right? I hope I'm preaching to the choir here with the safety basics. But this is what we have to do so we can do it right every time. Do it the right way every time. That is the bottom line of basics, is that we do it the right way every time. And if we remember that, we will always remember what these basics are. If you haven't been trained on it, don't touch it. Okay? If you haven't been trained on that piece of equipment, don't touch it. If you haven't been trained on that tractor or the backhoe, don't touch it. If you haven't been trained on it, don't touch it. Okay? Very simple. That's the basics. If it's wet, warm, and not yours, don't touch it. Basics of bloodborne pathogen exposures, right? Personal protective equipment. If you've got your PPE, you've got to wear it. If PPE has been prescribed to you and you've got to do it for the job that you're doing, you've got to wear it. Those are the basics. Okay? These are great things to go over, especially at this time of the year when we're working on turning over a new leaf and what are we going to do differently in 2024 to increase our safety. It's these things, getting back to the basics. If you haven't been trained, don't touch it. If it's wet, warm, and sticky and it's not yours, don't touch it. Okay? One of the best things we can do at this time of year, the first of the year, is to review our plans. Okay? This is getting right back down to the basics. Reviewing your emergency action plans. Okay? This is an OSHA requirement that these emergency action plans are reviewed on a regular basis. Okay? Now, what does that mean on a regular basis according to OSHA? They leave it kind of ambiguous for you to decide. But what we kind of recommend, do this every year, do this annually. January, first of the year, great time to review your emergency action plans. I'm sure many of you haven't seen your emergency action plans since you were first hired. Okay? Some of you are in a room right now looking at your buddies saying, man, when was the last time we looked at that thing? Okay? You want to review that. You want to know that in case you go down in an accident or you have a heart attack or there's a fire or a tornado, that everyone knows what they should do so that your buddy can help save your life if they need to. Now is a great time to take out your emergency action plan and review it and make sure that everyone is aware of the jobs that they have to do in case of an emergency. Now is also a great time to review your bloodborne pathogen exposure control plan. Take a look at that and make sure that everyone is aware of that bloodborne pathogen exposure control plan, because we could all be exposed to bloodborne pathogens at any time. Okay? Even if we're in an office working at a desk all day long. Could a coworker cut their hand? Absolutely. Could we have to help? Absolutely. Okay. What's our plan if that happens? We got to know those things. Get back to the basics and review these plans. Fire prevention plans. What can we do so we can avoid fires in our areas? Reviewing your fire protection plans is also an OSHA requirement. Okay, that you're trained and you review and you document these things. So let's take the opportunity this month to get back to the basics and review these plans, your emergency action, your bloodborne pathogen, your fire prevention plans, because these are the basic documents and the basic things that we have to do in case of an emergency. So really, I mean, remember that we are responsible for our own safety. Remember, you're the safety director of your world, right? But we watch out for each other as the team. We watch out for everybody else because your awareness is going to equal safety 100% of the time. If we're aware of what's going on around us, then we're going to be safe. Okay? Take it back to basics and make commitments on what you are going to do today. So make a commitment today that what are you going to do? Are we going to do it right every single time? Are you going to review your plans? Okay, what are you going to do today to make 2024 a safe year for you? Okay, that's all. That's what we got for you today. I know it was kind of quick, but it's some important stuff. So thank you for sticking around here with us. And Jason, do we have any questions?
Folks, if you have any questions, please type those into the chat box right now, and we'll get Mike to answer those. Pretty important subject this time of year, and it's a good time for us to make a commitment to safety. Maybe there's something that we've been lacking on a little bit over in the past. Great time to make a New Year's resolution on this. I don't make gym resolutions. Doesn't happen. Folks, type that in the chat box. I'm not seeing anything in there. What's your final words on this, Mike?
You know, just make it today to go out and make it a great year by making those resolutions to do it right every time. Take it back to the basics when we need to. Just make sure that we're doing it the right way every single time.
Awesome, folks. Hey, everybody, go out and have a safe day.
Thanks.